Hey y'all, Tanny Cooks here, and as you can see today we are going to be cooking some cabbage. I have 3 nice heads of cabbage here as long as some other ingredients, and the typical way to prepare cabbage is to either steam it on top of your stove or to boil it or to fry it in a frying pan on top of your stove. But today I'm going to show you 2 additional ways to make delicious cabbage. One way is to cook it in 6 minutes and it's going to be completely tender and fabulous. Another way to cook the cabbage is a way to make it so caramelized on top that it is amazingly luscious. So let's get to cooking. So I have this beautiful cabbage, 3 heads. I also have mushroom stock. I like this as opposed to just plain vegetable stock. I like the flavor. I have liquid smoke, minced garlic, onion powder, garlic powder, hickory smoked sea salt, which I love for the flavor, as well as smoked paprika, and olive oil. The first thing we're going to do is wash our cabbage, of course. I wash my vegetables in water and white vinegar. You can see how beautiful it is. You can pull the outer leaves off to make sure you get off any dirt that might be hiding in between them. But think of how many people touch these heads of cabbages in the grocery store and then on the farm before they even get to the grocery store. So be sure to wash it well. For these recipes, you can cut your cabbage to your preferred size. So if you want it to be thin strips, that's okay. Or if you want thicker squares or rectangles, that's also okay as well. So cut your cabbage to the way you like. It's just that if it's cut thicker, it might take a little bit longer for all of your pieces to get tender as we cook them. Now I mentioned we're going to use 2 methods to cook this cabbage. One is going to be an Instant Pot, which is my Instant Pot bowl with the trivet in it. We won't need that for the recipe. And then I have a 13x9 roasting pan. I'm using my extra virgin olive oil from Costco. This is organic olive oil. I'm just putting in a couple of tablespoons into each container. The cabbage will absorb that olive oil and it will have the delicious flavor, but also a silky smooth texture that we want. And we will add more later on. We're just doing adding a little bit to the bottom of the pan so none of our cabbage sticks. So I'm just dropping my cabbage pieces that I have all chopped up into each of my containers. I end up needing 2 of my 13x9 pans to roast in the oven because I didn't want the pieces to be stacked on top of each other. And one of these, I'm going to add some roasted red peppers because I had this jar already open. I love roasted red peppers. They are very soft, almost like a cooked version of a red bell pepper. It's a nice texture, and of course that pop of color is awesome. So if you like bell peppers, then you can certainly add it, or you can just leave it out like I did in one of my pans. In both pans, I'm adding liquid smoke for a smoky flavor. I'm also adding smoked paprika. You can add the seasonings of your choice. I know I like a smoky flavor, and because of the amount of cabbage I have in each pan, I'm adding a little bit more olive oil. The exact amount of olive oil will depend on the amount of cabbage you have. So we're going to check it again and see if we need more later before we actually start cooking it. Now I'm starting to add my seasonings, including black pepper, as well as onion powder. You can also add garlic powder if you like that or prefer that. I have garlic and parsley powder. Now for my salt, I'm using a teaspoon measure. This is my hickory smoked sea salt. I love this stuff. This 2-pound bag might be $15 to $17 on Amazon. I buy it every few years. It lasts me that long, and it really is that delicious. So I measured 1 teaspoon of salt in each pan. I can tell you I did end up adding more later, so if you know that you like salt, you might want to add 2 teaspoons of salt, but it's better to err on the caution of adding too little in the beginning, knowing you can always add more later. So now with a gloved hand, I'm just going in and massaging the olive oil and seasonings into the cabbage. And some of the cabbage is in big chunks, so I'm breaking them up into smaller chunks so that most of the pieces can be covered with the olive oil and the seasoning in each of my pans. Okay, at this point, I'm just playing with my food, but at least I have a glove on. It's so fun. I love the textures. It's so beautiful, and it smells so good, even at this point with all of the seasonings. And, you know, cabbage is something people eat raw. You can eat this raw in coleslaw. So if you taste a piece of seasoned cabbage with olive oil, you might be amazed about how good it actually tastes by itself. I am adding some minced garlic. I'm adding a couple of teaspoons to each pan. You can add garlic to your personal liking. So I'm continuing to massage the cabbage. So at this point now, I am going to add some stock. I'm adding mushroom stock because to roast vegetables, you really don't need water, but I do want these to steam a little bit because I want to be sure all of my cabbage gets very soft. That's how the family member I'm cooking it for prefers it. So I want it to get very soft. So I added maybe a 1/4 cup of stock in the bottom of each 13 by 9 pan. We're going to roast this at 425 degrees for 20 to 30 minutes. Stir halfway through to make sure it gets sufficiently browned all the way over. We're going to go ahead and start with our second cabbage recipe. In the Instant Pot, I took my trivet out, I added olive oil, and then I added my cabbage, and now I'm adding several teaspoons of minced garlic, black pepper, garlic powder with parsley powder, onion powder. Again, seasoned to taste. A couple of teaspoons of each is probably good. I just used a pinch of salt though. And then I'm adding more olive oil. And remember, we can add more seasonings after we taste this. Of course, I'm adding my liquid smoke. And you can note how full this Instant Pot looks before I start cooking it. I turned on the saute function just to saute it for 7 minutes first. You don't actually have to do this step, but I know that my family likes our cabbage soft. So I'm going to saute it first for just 7 minutes. And I have a silicone spoon so that I can stir in my seasoning. Remember, we put olive oil in the bottom so that this Instant Pot won't scorch. And of course, as the cabbage cooks, it will release some moisture. So over my 7 minutes, I'm just giving it a stir. And now that it has finished with the saute function, I clicked the pressure cook button to put it on high pressure for just 6 minutes. It's all it takes. So I put my lid on and I'm going to set the lever to sealing as opposed to venting. That's what you do when you want it to vent the pressure out. So I want it to seal and build up pressure. It's on, make sure it's on high pressure. I checked my vegetables halfway through. It's been about 15-20 minutes. So I'm looking at it and I'm giving it a stir to make sure I get that beautiful caramelized color all throughout. You can taste a piece to see if it's tender enough for you. Back to my Instant Pot, I'm adding about a 1/2 cup of stock. And then I was busy doing other stuff, so it finished and it was sitting there for 22 minutes. It's okay. I turned my lever to venting to get all the pressure out. The lever dropped down. And now look at how my cabbage cooked down. But it is super tender, super delicious. I love having that stock in there for the additional flavor. And look at this, y'all. This is the Instant Pot cabbage that cooked 6 minutes on high pressure after we sauteed it. So technically, I guess 13 minutes. And this is the oven roasted caramelized cabbage with roasted red peppers. This roasting is my favorite way to cook cabbage by far. It's so delicious. It's so flavorful. And it's super easy to cook a big amount of this cabbage. So if you've never tried cabbage this way, I encourage you to try it. You will love it over steaming or boiling. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please subscribe.